Imagine a secret plan buried deep within the heart of Nazi Germany. A plan codenamed Valkyrie. At first glance, it appeared to be one of Hitler's own orders, a contingency strategy designed to secure the Reich in case of uprisings or Allied landings. But hidden within it was a daring deception, a blueprint that some of Hitler's closest officers would attempt to twist against him, transforming a plan of dictatorship into a weapon of rebellion. On July 20th, 1944, this plan nearly changed the course of history, but it ended in blood, betrayal, and questions that still echo today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. The roots of Operation Valkyrie go back to 1941, when the war's momentum began to shift. Hitler's gamble against the Soviet Union dragged into a brutal conflict, and Allied bombings devastated German cities. Dissatisfaction grew among military officers, many of whom had once admired Hitler's rise but now feared he was dragging Germany into total ruin. Among them were men like Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, a decorated officer wounded in North Africa, who believed Hitler had to be removed for the survival of Germany. On paper, Operation Valkyrie was not treason at all. Drafted by the German Army Reserve, it was officially a contingency plan. If civil unrest broke out, if slave laborers revolted, if communications collapsed, or if Allied paratroopers landed inside Germany, the plan allowed the reserve army to mobilize, secure government buildings, and restore order. It was signed by Hitler himself. No one suspected that the very order designed to protect him might one day be turned against him. The conspirators, led by Stauffenberg and senior officers like General Ludwig Beck and Henning von Treschow, realized that Valkyrie could be the perfect cover for a coup. If Hitler were assassinated, they could immediately declare a state of emergency, claim the SS had staged a coup and mobilize the reserve army to seize Berlin, arrest Nazi leaders, and negotiate peace with the Allies. The beauty of the plan lay in its legitimacy. Soldiers carrying it out would believe they were following Hitler's orders, not betraying him. By the summer of 1944, time was running out. The Allies had landed in Normandy, the Red Army was advancing from the east, and German defeat seemed inevitable. Within this climate of desperation, Stauffenberg decided to act. On July 20th, 1944, he traveled to Hitler's Wolf's Lair headquarters in East Prussia, carrying a briefcase packed with explosives. At a high-level meeting, he placed the briefcase under the conference table near Hitler, excused himself, and left the room. Moments later, a thunderous explosion ripped through the wooden barracks. Smoke, fire, and screams filled the air. For a few tense minutes, the conspirators believed history had been rewritten. Stauffenberg, escaping the compound, sent word to Berlin. The Führer was dead. The coup was set in motion. Orders went out under the authority of Operation Valkyrie. Reserve army units were told to secure ministries, arrest Nazi officials, and disarm the SS. For a brief window, the German capital was suspended in confusion. Was Hitler truly dead? Were these orders genuine? But fate turned against them. The bomb, powerful but mispositioned behind a heavy table leg, failed to kill Hitler. Though 4 officers were killed and many injured, Hitler emerged with only minor burns and a ruptured eardrum. By evening, loyal commanders confirmed that the Führer had survived. Radio broadcasts announced his continued leadership, and the illusion collapsed. In Berlin, reserve army commanders who had hesitated now switched sides. By nightfall, the coup unraveled. Stauffenberg and several conspirators were arrested at the War Ministry. Without trial, they were executed by firing squad in the courtyard, their deaths illuminated by headlights. In the following weeks, Hitler unleashed a wave of brutal reprisals. The Gestapo hunted down anyone connected to the plot. Over 7,000 people were arrested, and about 4,980 executed, including high-ranking officers, politicians, and even civilians who had heard whispers of the plan. Yet the story of Valkyrie is more complex than a single failed bomb. It was not the first attempt on Hitler's life. More than a dozen plots had preceded it, from poisoned brandy to rigged bombs on aircraft. What made Valkyrie different was its scale and sophistication. It was the closest the German resistance ever came to removing Hitler from power, and potentially ending the war months earlier. Some historians argue that even if the plan had succeeded, Germany's fate might not have changed. The Allies had already demanded unconditional surrender, and they were unlikely to negotiate with new German leaders. Others believe that an earlier end to the war could have saved millions of lives, spared cities from destruction, and altered the shape of post-war Europe. What is certain is that the conspirators acted not for personal gain but for conscience. Men like Stauffenberg believed they had a moral duty to act, even if it meant sacrificing their lives. The plan's secrecy also raises questions. How could so many officers conspire under Hitler's nose? Part of the answer lies in the nature of the regime itself. The Nazi government was sprawling, chaotic, and filled with overlapping authorities. While the Gestapo had ears everywhere, many in the officer corps still enjoyed a level of trust. Moreover, the conspirators cleverly used Hitler's own signature to mask their rebellion. They weren't openly disobeying him, they were, in effect, turning his orders back on himself. The failure of Valkyrie cemented Hitler's paranoia. After July 20th, he no longer trusted the Wehrmacht leadership. He increasingly relied on the SS and his personal bodyguards, isolating himself from any potential threats. Ironically, the assassination attempt that sought to end the Nazi regime ended up tightening Hitler's grip, at least temporarily. Still, the legacy of Valkyrie endures. After the war, surviving members of the resistance were recognized as symbols of moral courage in a time of tyranny. Streets and schools across Germany now bear the name of Klaus von Stauffenberg. The story has been retold in books, documentaries, and films, including the Hollywood movie Valkyrie, which brought the events to a global audience. Operation Valkyrie was both a military plan and a moral dilemma. It reminds us that even in the darkest regimes, there are those willing to risk everything for what they believe is right. The conspirators failed to kill Hitler, but their attempt revealed cracks in the Nazi system and offered a glimpse of another Germany, one that refused to march blindly to destruction. The hidden power of Valkyrie lies not in what it achieved, but in what it tried to achieve. It was the story of men who chose betrayal of a tyrant over betrayal of humanity, even knowing the price would be their lives. Their actions echo through history as a reminder that even in a world ruled by fear, courage can still ignite, if only for a fleeting moment. If this deep dive into Operation Valkyrie fascinated you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the conspirators could have succeeded if Hitler had died that day? Or was Germany's fate already sealed no matter what?